Hi, I'm Michael and I would like to present my master thesis about the characterization of wind channeling in Longyearbyen, Svalbard. First of all, where is Svalbard? Svalbard is located in a high Arctic, in a place that is so far north that usually doesn't show up in maps, but is there. There is a growing economical and scientific interest in the Arctic, and Longyearbyen has a privileged position. Besides other environmental issues like global warming and pollution, there is something else that threatens this village: snow avalanches. From earlier studies, we know that wind has a major impact in the developing of these events. So in order to get a good avalanche forecast, we need a good wind forecast. The issue with that is that the local weather station is located in another valley at Vendalen, close to the airport. So it might happen that wind there gets channeled in a different way than what happens in Longyearbyen. Hence, we have two different types of wind patterns. Hence, the data from this site could differ from the conditions in Longyearbyen due to wind channeling effects caused by the shape of the valleys. Then, what I want to understand is, are the conditions in the two valleys similar? And second question, can the station at the airport represent the conditions of Longyearbyen? To answer these questions, I deployed a weather station in Longyearbyen in red, and I used the data from other two stations, the airport in blue and Gruvfjellet, which is located on top of a plateau and is represented in green. I used the data from Gruvfjellet to keep track of the conditions aloft, as this station was fairly distant from any topographic barrier. The fieldwork lasted for 41 days, from the beginning of March to April the 10th. Out in the field, I always had to bring weapons for polar bear protection, as well as a safety kit in case of avalanche. I also had to plan my logistics very carefully, and I had to be prepared for the cold weather. In fact, the temperature in the valleys was ranging between 0 and minus 20 degrees, with an average of minus 13. Higher up on the plateau, instead, the temperature was somehow lower due to the elevation difference. Conversely, the two valleys have different wind speeds. In Longyearbyen, the average is 3 meters per second, while in Vendalen, as well as on the plateau, the average is 5. Anyway, higher values were quite common, and quite unpleasant. The three weather stations have quite different wind patterns. On the plateau, the wind is basically following the synoptic conditions, while in the two valleys, the wind has a quite stable direction, southerly in Longyearbyen and easterly in Vendalen. Then, if we plot this data on a topographic map, we can clearly see that the shape of the valley has an influence on the wind direction, and this is called wind channeling. In Vendalen, the wind aloft gets forcefully channeled by the wide valley, while in Longyearbyen something more complex goes on. In fact, the valley is narrow, and that isolates it from the winds above, allowing the onset of a thermal circulation between the two endings of the valley. This thermal circulation can anyway be modified when the local boundary layer is unstable. As a result, the conditions in the two valleys are not similar, and with a further statistical analysis I concluded that the station at the airport cannot represent Longyearbyen. I hope that you enjoyed this presentation and that everything was clear. Thanks.